Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of our viewers that are tuning in right now from all over the world, wherever you are. Today, right now in the UK, it is almost evening. It's 5 o'clock Eastern time. It is midday, so it's halfway through the day. It is my pleasure to host and bring to you today's show, which is Talking Heads, and I'm an expert presenter in today's topic, which is preparing for retirement emotionally. And it's part of the Mind and Body Connection series. My name is Caroline Heward, and I'm known as the Harley Street Stress Expert. Let's begin. Here's a quote from Fred Rogers. Often when you think you're at the end of something, you're at the beginning of something else. Fred Rogers. And I felt that this was a good place to start. It's at the end of your working life and at the beginning of a new type of life that's different from your old life, that's different from everything that you've ever done or been or thought about. What we do is we tend to physically, logically, mentally prepare for retiring and leaving work in terms of the finances and in terms of the logical, practical things. But today we're going to look at the emotions, and that's going to touch on our mental approach towards retirement. So what is retirement? For much of our time, almost sort of in the UK now, I think it's 68 that you can retire at is the legal time to retire. It was 65 quite some time ago. So from the time that you leave work, leave school and you go to work, that's many, many years, decades. And then there's a point, unless you retire early and you decide to leave work, there is work on the one side and retirement on the other. And because we are so fixed in terms of our academic ability, our study, our qualifications, and our work livelihood, what happens is we tend to be in the space of an identity of being in a work situation. And when we're in a work situation, when people ask you, what do you do? We tend to, not everyone, but we tend to consider who we are in that identity at work. I'm a hairdresser. I'm a stress therapist. I'm a banker. I'm a stockbroker. I'm a solicitor. I'm a lawyer. And so when somebody says, what do you do? It tends to be how we associate with how we fill our time, which is our work time. And so when we get to the point of retirement and somebody says, what do you do? What happens is the person says, oh, nothing, I'm just retired. And that very apathetic response, because what happens is a lot of people lose their identity. They lose what they feel is important to them, what they've been attached to for all of their lives. Because when you go to school, when you start off in school, it's to begin the process of learning to form a career and a livelihood of you earning money to have and buy the things that you want to have in your life. A home, a car, and all the paraphernalia around what makes you happy, the social, the gatherings, the meals, the parties, the clothes, the shoes, and whatever it is that you fill your time with and you spend your money on. But when you use the word retirement, all of that disappears. All of that conversation is no longer there. And what happens is that all the work paraphernalia and the work ethic and culture and lifestyle and conversation disappears. And you move into something else, something you don't know about. And it's huge. And there's a lot of conversation and productivity around planning for your retirement, financial wise, through schemes at work, through savings. One of the things that I actually said was, I want to become mortgage free when I'm 60, before I'm 60, and I have done that now. And that was a really big thing for me, to make sure that I was more financially flexible and I wasn't having to pay a mortgage. So it gave me more freedom financially. And that's what's happened. But I'm nowhere near retiring or thinking about retirement. And that's probably because I'm a little bit different. But there are many people like myself that probably don't consider retirement. They consider something else, like doing the things that they love and sharing the things that they do. And that's where I've become. And I guess on some level, I retired from corporate a couple of decades ago, just shy of a few more, 2 decades and a little bit ago. But I'm working more now than I ever did back then. And I don't wake up to the alarm clock in a different way. I'm waking up in a different way because my day isn't the 9 till 5 or the 9 till 7 or even the 9 till 9, which it was at some point. It is now a different day, and it is a day that people reach out to me when they're not working and they're free. Many people have that formal work situation, and then they leave their formal work. And many people, when they leave their formal work surroundings and the paycheck and the salary, they move into a ground and a place that's so unfamiliar that they don't know what to do with it. And this is the challenge, because for all of their life, pretty much, they have been focused on retirement at the end. And so their focus has been work. So when you're born, you're not thinking about retirement, you're living and experiencing. And when you're working, it's so full on and you're so engaged in what you're doing that the retirement phase almost is so out there that there's no consideration for it, only from the finances and making sure that there's enough money for you to retire on. But let's look more about this identity when you are in this state of work. What we do is we tend to associate everything that we're doing with who we are. And that's where the trigger of what will happen in retirement falls upon the person that's struggling. Because when the person that has identified themselves with their work, their situation, their friends, their colleagues, and it's all been work focused, it is very difficult then to leave all of that behind and retire. And let's look a little bit more closely at some of the things that happen. So are you emotionally ready to retire? Because practically and physically, you've probably sorted out the mortgage, the house that you're living in, the home that you're living in, the relationship, and you might have even sorted out the finances and the friendships. And you might have said to people that you're working with, I want to stay in touch. I'll have more time to stay in touch. But what happens emotionally to the person is that you're staring into the abyss. Let me say that again. You're staring into the abyss. What happens is you're looking outward into a nothingness. And there is very much a theory and a evolution of people that are very comfortable and work flat out all of their working life, and they do really, really well, and they decide that they've worked hard enough and long enough to retire, that they deserve to retire. And when they retire, there is no alarm clock, there is no feeling of belongingness, there is no need to get up and to do things. And many people that go into retirement that are not prepared emotionally, and this is the space that I'm in today, it's about the emotions and it's about our mental state of being, because we do work very hard at making sure the finances are right and that we have got that bit worked out, because that's something that is a focus. There's a lot of attention in our working life to focus on being practically ready for retirement. But emotionally and mentally, nobody prepares you for it. I've seen many people that as soon as they retire actually have a fatal heart attack, or they go into a depression. And the reason that happens is because they feel they've lost their meaning for life and their meaningfulness in terms of who they were. And then they're trying to grapple on who they should be. So they're looking at what is left. And usually they're staring into a nothingness and an abyss. And why is this so difficult for people? It's because many people are on what I call the hamster wheel, and they're going round and round on this hamster wheel. And it's a fast hamster wheel. There's deadlines, there's targets, I have to do this by this date, otherwise it's all going to fall apart, the project's not going to work. And people are working in that fast pace. And suddenly you are going into retirement and there is no wheel, no hamster wheel for you to keep going round. So what do? I know of many people that have handled retirement really, really well. And one of the things that they have done is they've filled their time. When I speak to people that are retired, certainly in their 70s and 80s, I find it very interesting because they still diarise things. And it tends to be a diary of hospital appointments or appointments with the hairdresser or appointments with somebody that they haven't seen for a time, or with the bank. But it seems to be they fill their diary and their time with going from one appointment to the other. And certainly in older age, certainly when somebody's in their 70s and 80s, for some people their health deteriorates. And so then there are doctors and hospital appointments to work around. So what happens to you emotionally when you're having to handle all of these types of appointments and things that you have to do that weren't in the diary before? it becomes challenging, because when you reach a place of retirement, because there is an abyss, for some people it's very hard to move forward in that nothingness and in that space of identity, because we so often approach our work through the identity of the career or the type of work that we do. And you only have to look around and speak to people when you ask them, what do? They very much generally launch into all the things that they do that earns them money. Very rarely do they come up with, I like to play golf, I like to dance, I like to challenge myself at the gym, I like to be on a keep fit regime, and so I run marathons. There is a few, and it's a minority of people that have that type of conversation. I was in training on the weekend on my coaching training course in London, and it made me smile that one of the ladies that is supporting other coaching groups along with the trainer, she's actually climbing in, I think it's Peru, and she's climbing a very famous mountain, and she's quite young. And I found that was really inspiring, because I know from that share that she is going to do some extraordinary things when she retires, because she's had to drop a lot of things in her working day and in her normal working month to go off and have an adventure. An adventure she is having because she's organised sponsorship, she's raising money, and she's doing something that's very altruistic. And this is what I want to share with you. When you go into retirement, it doesn't need to be the end. It can actually be the beginning of a new adventure. It can be a time when you can focus on and do some of the things that you didn't have time to do, or more importantly, didn't think about doing because there was the importance of work and meeting those deadlines. I also know couples that travel a lot, and they're always planning their next holiday and what they're going to be doing. And so their diary is filled with one adventurous holiday after another. Admittedly, some of the people that I know, it's one drinking hole after another in terms of where they're going. But the thing is, they are exploring and having fun and enjoying their retirement, because I wonder, when I read some of their posts, how they had time for work. How did they have time for work when they're always out and about? And so those particular couples that have found retirement to be the opening path to explore, to adventure, to go on adventure and do the things that they didn't have time to do when they were working. And I find that really, really inspiring, because they've thought about retirement and they've thought about how to enjoy it, how they can move forward in life so that they have purpose, they have a fulfilled experience in life. But very often, some people don't think about what they'd like to fill their time with, and so what they do is they stop, literally. They just stop functioning. Some people stay in bed because they say, what have I got to get up for? What's the point? And so they don't eat so often, or they eat at wrong times, or they're not eating appropriate foods that will nourish them. Because when the social side goes from the working life situation, when your working life has completed and the social scene has gone, then for some people there is an abyss of a lack of social, because their social was focused on all of the things surrounding their work life. So there were functions, work functions, lunches, dinners, Christmas parties, activities surrounding work. And when that happens, when work has stopped and they are no longer employed, then that social life and that outlet has gone. And so my invitation to you is to look at not only the physical financial side of things and the practical side of retirement, is to look at what would you like to do with all of that time? Because when you get to it and you haven't thought about it, it can be overwhelmingly challenging. It can be a ride of discomfort, and it can lead you into a state of anxiety because for many people, they associate their identity, who they are and how they show up in the world with what they do. And suddenly they feel useless and they feel unimportant. I have seen on some Facebook walls in terms of the status, they say at retirement. And it is the way that person is feeling and mentally thinking about how they are experiencing retirement. And I also know some people that are so busy in terms of their voluntary occupations and charity work. I certainly feel that if I ever decide to retire, what I probably will be doing is sitting on lots of boards and committees and giving back what I have had from mentors that have been older than me and how they have looked after me. I will probably be one of those people. And I had that experience when I was in corporate, that I had incredibly wonderful mentors that were around me and supported me in my growth through my working career, whether it be in marketing and PR and management corporate, or whether it was in the environment that I'm in now, which is stress management and well-being. And I've had a fair share of very highly regarded mentors who are authors and who are very much at the top of their game and highly regarded. And I feel that because I've had that, that's the kind of thing that I will do when I retire, because I don't feel that I would want to retire because I love what I do. And this is a conundrum for many people that have this looming retirement situation ahead of them, because they feel that it would have given them the freedom that they're looking for, that they wanted, because they didn't have time to do all the things that they wanted to do when they were in their working life. And yet there is so much time that they feel overwhelmed to the point that they do nothing. So there are two sides to this coin. There is the side where people are looking forward to it and excited and traveling and filling their time. But then it does depend on the finances. It does depend how much that you have to have an enjoyable pension and retirement age. It does depend on what's there for you to be able to do these things that you'd like to do. And I'm very much in appreciation of many people, especially in our current times and our changed world times, that they haven't got what they thought they would have in their retirement age, especially with the situation that we have globally. We have a cost of living crisis. And so what was deemed as enough money is now not actually enough money to do the things that you want to do. And I have seen many people that are in their late 60s and 70s and even in their 80s thinking about going back to work. And I wonder whether it's twofold. I do wonder whether it's actually not just about the money, but also companionship, a belonging, a place to show up for social, as well as earning some money. And if you're the type of person that does a lot of voluntary things, that your diary will be filled with doing things on a voluntary basis so that you experience more social interaction and more communication and more fulfillment. When I was in corporate and rose to the dizzy heights of doing well, one of the things that I did was I sat on a number of committees and boards because I wanted to give back. And I guess that I'd reached a point in my corporate life that I had exceeded and excelled to the point that I could give back to the people that were coming into the profession, that were young and looking up at people that had done well. And that was something that was an incredible gift to me to do, to be in that role of giving back. And there are many people that never really retire, but they're actually in a place of giving of themselves freely and unconditionally, because it feels good. When they're giving of themselves and their expertise, it makes them feel fulfilled. And this is what we're talking about, fulfillment. And the work situation, even though your heart might not have been fulfilled, your mind and your body was fulfilled with what it needed to do. And when you move into a place of retirement, then the heart literally feels like it's having a grieving, because it is a loss. It is a grieving process of losing the work, the companionship, the colleagues, the friendship, and the way of living, the way of a culture and a lifestyle. And people that do retire talk about this, that they feel worthless. They feel like they don't know where to go anymore. They don't know what the meaning is of each day. And so Monday morning isn't such a dark experience anymore, and they don't look forward to Fridays because every day is a Friday, unless they fill their diary. I love this quote from Louis Armstrong. Louis Armstrong is a musician, a very famous musician, and he said, "Musicians don't retire, they stop when there's no more music in them." Musicians don't retire, they stop when there's no more music in them. Louis Armstrong. Let's contemplate that. I have a very dear friend that's a musician, and he was actually working in a role in a supermarket that was really dear to him. And when I met him, I met him at a fish counter at a supermarket, and we were having a conversation, and he was really knowledgeable about fish. And what was extraordinary about the conversations was that he was enjoying it. He was happy and he was very knowledgeable. And I enjoyed listening to him and learning about how to cook the different types of fish and what to put with what. Now, being a customer, that gave me an extraordinary experience. And as I got to know this particular person on the fish counter, he was telling me he had retired. He was a musician and he had retired, and he was doing something that he enjoyed doing. That fish was in his blood, and he grew up in fish markets, and it was just something that he enjoyed, and it was a give back for him. And I remember talking to him about the fact that he was doing something he loved, and his comment was, "What do I do now? I'm not going to sit at home and do nothing, so I want to do something." And in those conversations over a period of weeks and months, because I used to go shopping every week then, and I used to buy my fish from the fish counter, and the extraordinary thing happened. We had a conversation about what I do, and I said something that inspired this particular person. And it was, when he was playing music, I said, you will feel it in your stomach, and you will feel a sense of liberation and joy, and you will feel a level of experience that's beyond words. You will feel something that fills you with joy, with happiness, and then time stands still. There is no time when you're in a space of enjoyment. And this is something that really resonated with him. He says, gosh, how do you know that? I says, well, when you sing, you have to sing down into your belly. And this is where the second chakra is. The second chakra is the sacral energy. And this is all about movement towards the things that you desire. And so when a musician, an actor or an actress, they're in the thing that they desire and they love, and they're in a place of enjoying what they are doing in terms of their creativity, there is no time and they feel fulfilled. But this particular friend, he was thinking he was too old to be literally retired and being in the music business. He said, no, this is my retirement now. I have done it. I've been there. I've been with some famous bands, and I've really reaped the rewards from it, and I can't do that anymore. And I said, but did you enjoy it? And he did. And so much so that he was a very famous musician back in those early times of the 70s and 80s. He was a session musician, so not famous in the front, but working with very famous people. And on some level, when I was sharing this with him, he said, you know, it was fun and I miss those times. And he was working with people that are very famous, like Rod Stewart and David Essex. And I don't want to drop names, but, you know, they were very famous people. And he loved it because these are artists with skill, with talent, with creativity, and are famous for a reason. They touch your heart. And when you touch your heart, there is no retirement. There is only a feeling of completeness. And in that place of completeness, I want to continue sharing this story. My lovely friend, who's the musician, has completed several albums. He has been touring. He has written songs that have been given to and sold to other people that have made them famous. He's working with a lot of other very famous musicians and artists from back then. And he's having the time of his life. And he always says to me, you inspired me. I didn't inspire him. I just said something that was true for me, that was true for him. He thought he was too old and had bought into this concept of retirement. And then he set off and did something that he enjoyed, being a fishmonger, because he knew about it. He was from the East End and he enjoyed it. And he enjoyed making people laugh and sharing his wisdom. Now, this particular friend had so much more to give. He had so much more in him. And what he did is he reconnected back to the beauty and the heart space of what he enjoyed. And he let go of the age. He let go of this concept of retirement. And he let go of what society thinks and tells you that you should do. And now it is his hobby, which has become very serious and something that he can take or leave, something that he decides to do or not do. something that he chooses to do that he enjoys. So this is the secret of retirement, because many people think that it's to give up, to lose your life, your identity. And on the other side of that coin, there are many people that continue. I can remember there was a comedy actor, Tommy Cooper, and what he did was, I don't know how old he was, but I know he was quite a mature man. And I remember watching live on TV where he said, he used to have a phrase saying, just like that. It was very simple comedy. And I remember the show very well. It was live television. And he says, and just like that, and he keeled over, and everybody laughed. And they laughed. And then the curtains drew. And that person, that amazing comedian, died. And nobody knew. They closed the curtains. They ended the live show. And then we find out later that Tommy Cooper died. I'll never forget that, because it made a huge impact on me, because he died making people laugh. That was his thing, making people laugh. And he stayed doing what he enjoyed, what he loved, and didn't consider it as work. And this is what retirement is for some people. It's not about giving up. It's about filling your time with things that you love and enjoy. And perhaps you don't need to do certain things that you had to do when you were working and fulfill the criteria of earning the money that you have to earn. It might be that you can fill your time with things that you enjoy, hobbies, interests, traveling, deciding to see friends that you haven't seen for a period of time, to do the things that you forgot that you could do, that you enjoyed doing, to be in the garden, to enjoy the warm weather and the short summers that we have in the UK, to enjoy being with others, with family, with friends, to arrange social gatherings. My mother-in-law, when I was married, she used to have lots of social gatherings in her diary. And she would be part of a charity, different charities doing different things. She was part of different organisations that were contributing back. Now, we're not all like that, but that was something that I saw in my then mother-in-law that I know for sure kept her going. So exercise, interests, looking at what you enjoy doing rather than what you've lost. Because it is a bereavement. There is a loss of identity, a loss of a way of living, and a loss of who you were being. And then a new beginning, a new beingness, and a new way to be in life. Now, we were not, believe it or not, meant to be working all of our lives. But society, the world, tells us this is what we should be doing. My mum used to say to me, you go to work to earn money, not to enjoy it. I've had the luxurious position of being in a hobby that has turned into working and being paid for it. And I have had a luxurious position in that, in doing things that I love doing and turning those hobbies into qualified and career-driven aspects of my movement towards things that I enjoy doing and earning money too. And this is another one of those things that I'm doing. I'm a stress therapist, and I love what I do when I do what I love. It fulfills me. It moves me into a place of a higher vibration. I love to share the gifts of being in that space of the wisdom, of sharing the wisdom of the time that I have worked hard and evolved and developed. I feel more relaxed as a person. And at the same time, when I was entered into the world of work, and when I was at school, there were no computers. And so that for me has been a huge learning curve and a very steep one. And I'm very happy to say that I have a new lease of life on USA Global TV with a mentor, a coach who has become an extraordinary and dear friend, Dr. Jacqueline, who owns USA Global TV and Radio. We have become extraordinary friends because I learned some technology, because I didn't sit still. I said, I have to help people. I have to reach more people, because my whole mission and purpose in life is to play my part to create world peace. And when people get to a place of becoming retired, for some people, it is a place of doom, gloom, and depression. And it doesn't have to be, because it's our mental well-being and our emotional well-being that matters. And it's what you focus on and what you decide to fill your time with that creates more of who you're being and more of who you can be in your life. It has been my absolute pleasure to share this with you today. I have really enjoyed sharing the gift of being in a place of retirement, the gift of moving forward into a utopia, a place where you can give unconditionally of who you really are and your gift from your heart to others. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for being part of the show. Thank you for your attention. Please subscribe to USA Global TV and Radio. You can find all of our Talking Heads episodes on USA Global TV and Radio Talking Heads for last year's episodes under 2022, for this year's episodes under 2023. If this has touched you, if you find this interesting, I have covered all sorts of topics under the guise of stress and well-being. You can find all of my Talking Heads episodes and other shows under my name, Caroline Heward. Even if you just Google my name, you'll find tons of episodes. You can reach me on No More Stress at live.co.uk, or you can call me on +44 if you're international, 0 if you're local, 7523 120 189. And I offer a free 30-minute Zoom Stress Buster consultation. If Zoom isn't your thing, Skype, Messenger, audio, video, or call if you're camera shy. I look forward to helping you bust your stress in whatever place you are, because you are an important human being here and you have a wealth to give the world, whether you are at the place of retiring or not. And I am here to help you find your mission and your purpose to help you feel fulfilled in your retirement. Namaste.